do well on the rifle range and pistol range. But that was just part of the competition of TBS. You were always competing with your what do you call them?
Your classmates.
Your classmates at TBS. But a lot of guys wanted to go infantry, and obviously not everybody was going to go infantry. I don't know what the selection process was, but I had a good friend from the Naval Academy. Not really a good friend, but he was the one kind of guy that would go around and say, "Are you going to go infantry too?" Also, meaning also, and of course you had no idea. It depends on what the Marine Corps what their selection process was and whether you made it or not. And he ended up not getting infantry, which was probably a good move for him and the Corps.
Is there anything that you had struggles with when you were going through the basic school?
Oh, other than maybe, the O course or something like that. But that was just an 8-minute struggle. And as long as you were doing the best you could, that they didn't beat you up too hard or mark you down. But no, I didn't really feel that there was anything that was going to hold me back.
And they're training you with all the tactics, small unit tactics, naval gunfire, calling for fire. All there. Were you feeling like you were getting good preparation for the battlefield?
I did. What the basic school does is teach you everything you need to know as a company level officer. From your time as a second lieutenant up to captain. After that, there's another school. I'm not sure what it's called, but for senior captains and new majors. But I felt well prepared. They had a Vietnam village built up in Quantico, staffed, of course, by Vietnamese. Duh. And you practiced that. You did helicopter operations. You did walk-in insertions. You did land navigation, daytime and night, which I'm sure you know is a horse of a different color.
It is indeed.
But I apparently was pretty proficient. I graduated 7th in the class, not first like Webb did in his class, but that's okay. 7 was good enough for a letter of commendation coming out of the basic school. So.
And that's 7 out of class of how many?
About 240 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like you were better at the field craft than you were at the academics.
Well, this is true. In fact, I got shot in the head, and I have classmates who said, who still say to this day, we think that made you smarter, because I did go on to graduate school and get a master's and a PhD, after I was retired out of the Marine Corps. And maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
So the basic school is what, 6 months long?
About 5.5 then. Yeah, they're shortening it up.
5.5 months long. You get done with the basic school. You get infantry.
Right.
And then what happens?
I got selected for reconnaissance replacement training, which was a couple of weeks in Southern California, a week at Pendleton. Again, for more supporting arms training in artillery, that sort of thing, air. And then a week at Coronado for learning about naval gunfire support.
Did you use the board? What do they call that? The smoke board? Did they have the little fake terrain set up that you could call for fire on? I went to the Marine Corps Naval Gunfire School, and they had this terrain board, and it was kind of like it must have been built in like 1975. And when you'd call for fire, if you got in the right spot, little smoke would come up through that spot. And it was like you were looking at, through binoculars somewhere. It was pretty good.
No, I never saw anything like that. We were actually firing real live artillery at Pendleton and at the Naval Gunfire Support School. We had this big board, but it was blue. It was the ships in the ocean per se. But that was interesting because I did one night get to fire the cruiser Providence in Vietnam, which was fun. They couldn't use their 6-inch guns because they're too flat, so they used their 5-inch. Bring in indirect fire on. We had a bunch of lights below us. I think folks were trying to move their troops around in the middle of the night, but and we, this was on call for us, so we used it.
So you got to use the naval gunfire.
I did. And
that was like a dream of mine ever since I sat there on that little terrain board.
Well, it was a dream of ours, and I got to use my Bravo Zulu term at the end of it to thank them for their fire.
Bravo Zulu, the real Bravo Zulu.
The real Bravo Zulu, yeah.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. I never even got close to even remotely thinking about calling for naval gunfire for real. So
I probably weren't too close to big waterways.
Yeah. And I don't know. There's always that thing where guys want to fire a bunch of different weapons.
True.
In combat, right? And I had one guy get shot in the chest, but it hit him in the chest plate. Uh-huh. So I wasn't with him, but they actually had video of this. So he gets shot in the chest plate, and so he's all mad. He's mad, and he shoots a bunch of machine gun rounds, and someone goes, "Hey, shoot your pistol at him too." And he looks at him like, "Why?" What? And he says, "Well, it'll make you feel better." So he pulls his pistol out and shoots that too. And I'm sure if he would have had naval gunfire, who knows? Maybe he would have gone for it.
I don't know about the pistol. When we fired the 45 for qualification down at TBS, I think our instructor actually told us, in combat, if this is all you've got, you're probably just better off throwing the pistol at him than shooting at him, because you have a better chance of hitting him, the bad guy on the other end.
Did you guys not have infantry officer course back then? Because that's like a multi-month course now after TBS. We did not.
No, you're considered good to go, after graduation on TBS. Yeah, no, now they have a 10-week officer or infantry officer training course, which I think would have been outstanding, but we had what we had.
Mm-hmm. So you go to this recon course, mm-hmm. And so now are you getting jump pay and all that stuff now?
No, even though I was jump qualified, if you're not in a unit that maintains your jump qualification in the Corps, you don't get jump pay. In fact, we got to Vietnam in 1st Recon Battalion. There was only one company that maintained their jump status. That was Charlie Company, and they were the Force Recon Company. They did the same thing as the battalion recon companies did, but they did maintain their jump status. And so they got jump pay and every extra $75 a month, which was a big deal back then.
So you end up going through this recon training, and then what happens? Then is it time to deploy to Vietnam?
It's time to get on a bus and head up to Air Force Base in San Bernardino. Don't know the name of it, but flew over to Okinawa. Spent a week there, so they kind of dribbled you in.
Are you with all different branches of servicemen, or are you just with Marines at this point?
Just with Marines at this point. Going over. Flew on Saturn Airlines, I believe. A non-sched airline to Okinawa.
Oh, just like civilian. Was there civilian? What are they called? Hostesses, stewardesses on there?
Stewardesses. Oh yeah. A few stews.
Flight attendants.
But typically, you wouldn't have anything to do in Okinawa while you waited for your assignment to be flown into country. But when we got to Okinawa, there was about 5 of us that were traveling together. We had been to the recon replacement training together, and we were just milling around the receiving area after we got off the plane, and somehow I got up above it, higher up than the crowd below me, and I'm watching, and there's this young Lance Corporal with a clipboard. He's going to each of the second lieutenants that I had, my buddies, and asking them some question, and they're going, no. So I said, this poor kid, I've been in this position before, so I'll find out what's going on. So what he needed, his company gunny or something had sent him down. He needed a signature from an officer to run 3 plane loads of Marines through a little program on Okinawa where you FAM fired the M16, because none of us had ever seen an M16, much less fired one, before we went into Vietnam. And so you'd FAM fire, familiarize yourself, fire the M16 before you went in country, made sure all your shots were up to date and all your paperwork was up to date. So I said, sure, so I signed for him. I'd have to get up every other night while I was there for about a week, meet an incoming plane at about 2 a.m. in the morning, find the senior enlisted guy on the plane, form these guys up, take them over to a barracks, had them draw a mattress, flop down, told them to be, had to be out next morning at 7:30 in the morning and go to chow, and then we start them through the little program that you had to go through before you could get in country. So I met my 3 planes in a little more than a week's time. I was desperately afraid my officer buddies were going to rotate into country before I did. Didn't happen. We all went off together. But anyway, it was an interesting week.
What did you shoot in the basic school, the M14?
M14, yeah.
And how did you feel about the M16 when you got it?
I loved it. Lightweight, ammo's lightweight. Unfortunately, most Marines in Vietnam found out they had pitted barrels. And sure enough, I had to trade mine in, a month or 2 after I got there for one that was a newer one with a good barrel in it.
That's crazy. You guys didn't even didn't even shoot that weapon until you got to Okinawa.
That's right.
And then was the other training course they were giving you like basic preparation for Vietnam, jungle navigation or something like that, or
in Okinawa?
Yeah.
No, you were just kind of on your own until you rotated in. Khe Sanh was getting hot then, so we used to go to some 3-shack operations shack of some outfit on Okinawa and hear the morning brief about Khe Sanh and kind of look at each other and think, "Geez, do you want to get sent there?" No, no.
So then you spend that. So you spend that. What is it? A week in Okinawa?
About
and now
week.
You guys all fly over to Vietnam,
Right.
And where do you fly into?
Da Nang.
And then when you get there, what's that process like?
That process, we get there in the evening. It's dark again. Somebody met you. You took you off somewhere. You grabbed a mattress, flopped you down in some barracks at the end of the runway, and you slept until the next morning with all this F-force taken off above you. No sleep.
Did you have that stereotypical moment that people talk about, which is, the guys that are going home, the guys that are rotating home after their year, and you see that the contrast between the new guys showing up with their brand new gear and the old guys that are heading home and they look like they've been through hell and back?
No, never saw anybody that was going home. Down at the Nang airfield. Didn't see him. Mm-hmm. We arrived sometime in the middle of the night, and it was dark, and we had no. You have that little kind of internal feeling of impending doom or dread or something. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just your adrenaline pumping. That you're finally going to get in country, and what's going to? Are you going to take incoming rounds while you're landing? No. The answer's no. It's a normal landing. You get off the aircraft. Somebody meets you. Officers this way, enlisted guys that way. Drew your mattress, tried to sleep for the rest of the night.
Do you know where you're heading at this point?
You knew the division you were going to, 1st or 3rd. 3rd was up north in North I-Corps. 1st was down around the Da Nang area. And I was going to the 1st Division. You didn't even know if you were going to get to the recon battalion. You went to division. The next day we went to division. We got introduced to the commanding general for some reason. And we were required to sit down. He gave us a big book, Rules of Engagement. You had to read that, sign that you'd read it and understood it. And then you got sent off to your unit. And about 3 of us were lucky enough to go to the reconnaissance battalion. The other 2, they went off to regular grunt units, infantry units.
So when you get assigned to recon, and then what do you guys drive up there? Do you take a helicopter up there? How do you get up to your actual unit?
The actual unit, 1st Recon Battalion, was located just below and across the street from division headquarters.
Oh, so it was easy.
So, you walk down there. And as I said before, we had the one company, Charlie Company, that wasn't with the battalion in Da Nang. It was forward based at Phu Bai. They're the ones that kept up their jump status. And one of my buds, who had gone through the recon replacement training, I was slated to go up there because I was single, up to the Force Reconnaissance Company. And he asked if I would mind giving that position to him, if it was okay with the colonel, because he was married and expecting their first kiddo and needed that extra $75. I was just happy to be there. I said, sure, take it if that's what you want. That's no big deal. So he went up to the Force Company in Phu Bai. I stayed there with the battalion in Da Nang.
And then what was the what was checking in